Azure Lion collapsed to his knees, each breath shallow and ragged, his massive body trembling under the weight of the Emperor's magic. He knelt, his head bowed, each labored inhale a struggle. He gasped for air, feeling his insides tear apart, every part of him breaking as the power coursed through him, tearing him apart from within. It was agony, unbearable, but he knew his time was up. This was the price of his sacrifice, and he had accepted it. He had made the right choice. The world would be saved, even if he wouldn't be in it. Before him, MK, Wukong, and Liena stood frozen in horror, watching helplessly as Azure Lion began to fade. Liena's heart shattered as she watched her father, once her protector, once her hero, starting to disappear in front of her very own eyes. Her hands trembled, her tail twitched as it fluffed up, and tears welled in her eyes as she clenched her left arm, desperate to do something, anything to stop what was happening. But there was nothing that they could do. "Oh, Dad." Liena's voice trembled, barely a whisper, but then it broke through in a choked sob, while the ears went down on the back of her head. "Dad, no! You can't leave! Not again!" Her words struck something deep in Azure's heart, and made his heart ache. Azure Lion's head lifted slowly, his massive form shaking with the effort, his purplish eyes finding hers. His heart ached at the sight of her, the look of despair on her face, the tears streaming down her cheeks. He had never wanted this. He never wanted to leave her, but it was too late now. Liena took a step toward him, her voice rising in desperation. "Dad, you're going to be okay. We can fix this. You don't have to go. You can stay with us. You can stay with me and Mom. We can be a family again." Her words came out more frantic as she was desperately trying to figure out something, anything to stop this. "I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't mean those things I said before. I can't lose you again." MK and Wukong looked on in silence, their hearts heavy with sorrow, but they knew there was nothing they could do to stop this. Azure Lion's fate was sealed. Azure Lion tried to speak, but the pain in his body was overwhelming. He gasped, struggling to get the words out, and instead of speaking, he lifted one giant hand toward his daughter. A giant, trembling hand that could crush mountains. But in this moment was as gentle as the breeze. His fingers trembled as he reached for her, his thumb gently brushing against her cheek, wiping away a tear as delicately as he could. He whispered, his voice a low rumble filled with both pain and love. She couldn't bear it. Her knees felt weak, and she pressed her face into his hand, gripping his enormous finger with her tiny hands, as her tail curled up around her.
"It's okay. You don't need to apologize for anything, Liena."
He forced a small smile, though his body racked with pain, with all the strength he had left, and fought through it just for her. Carefully picked Liena up in the palm of his hand, cradling her with such tenderness that it seemed impossible for someone so large, so powerful, to be so gentle. He lifted her closer until her forehead rested softly against his, and for a moment, all the world seemed to fade away except for them. Liena leaned forward, resting her forehead against his enormous face, as tears kept streaming down her face.
"Listen to me. You are so strong, and I am so proud of you. You've always been my light, Liena."
He whispered, his voice cracking as he fought back his own tears.
"My whole world, my future. You have so much love in you. Don't ever forget that. You and your mother, you are my greatest joy. So keep being strong. Keep being honest and true. You have your friends, your family. They're here for you. No more tears, okay?
He closed his eyes for a moment, savoring the last bit of warmth from their closeness. Liena pressed her hands against his face, her body trembling with sobs. I love you, Dad, she whispered, her voice breaking. I love you so much. I'll miss you.
And I love you, Liena, more than you'll ever know.
His words were soft, almost a breath now.
I'm sorry I let you and your mother down, but I'm glad I got to do the right thing, to protect you, to make sure you can live on.
His strength was fading fast. With great care, he gently set Liena back down on the ground next to MK and Wukong. Liena's hands reached out for him one last time, but she knew he was slipping away. His form shimmered, the cracks spreading through his body, as he smiled one last time at them, his eyes filled with love and peace. Then, with a final breath, Azure Lion vanished, his body dissolving into the air. Liena watched as the last pieces of him disappeared, leaving the air still and nothing behind but silence. Liena fell to her knees while she curled her tail around her, the weight of it all crashing down on her as MK gently put his hand on her back as some sort of comfort for her. Tears streamed down her face as she clutched at her clothes, her heart breaking with the realization that he was truly gone. She knew her father was gone forever.